There were so many good Pokemon introduced in Pokemon Scarlet and Pokemon Violet, but which tin are the best? Before Pokemon Home comes out, on top of so many new faces getting into Draft League because of the BBR, I wanted to give my opinions on the top 10 Pokemon in pre-Home PALDEA decks. Remember, this is just my opinion. You are more than welcome to not only have a different opinion, but also discuss those opinions down below, because I promise you everybody is going to have a different top 10 list. Before we start though, we're going to need to set some ground rules. There are so many different Terra rules used by so many different leagues right now, so how do we determine which Terra rules to use? To keep it consistent with not only my channel but also the videos that you guys are probably watching, we are going to keep it consistent with BBR's Terra rules. If you don't know, BBR's Terra rules are 1 captain, 2 types, 1 stab and 1 non-stab type, and then Terra attacks. So you get a 20% increase on how much your Pokemon costs. While I don't think this is the best rule that there is, I do like keeping it consistent with other videos on my channel, so that's what we're going to do. We're also going to keep in mind that 3 Pokemon are going to be banned, and that's going to be Koraidon, Miraidon, and Fluttermane. And I'm also not going to rank Walking Wake or Iron Leaves, and I do think Walking Wake would typically be in the top 10. It has just been used in so few Draft League games that I don't have a lot of information to work off of, so I don't feel comfortable putting it in that top 10. Starting off at number 10, we're going to have a Pokemon that typically dominates these type of lists generation to generation, and that is going to be Garchomp. I really debated having Garchomp higher, but after writing the script, I couldn't justify putting it over any of the other 9 Pokemon. Garchomp essentially does what it has in past generations. It's a reliable rocker, it can be very bulky and use Rough Skin and Rocky Helmet super well, it can be mixed, it can be a sweeper. However, this generation it lost a very useful tool that it gained last generation, and that is going to be Scale Shot. On the other side of the coin though, it gained Spikes. So while its sweeper sets became worse, it gained more utility, a change that's welcomed by some players but also hated by other players. Personally, I do think Chomp is worse this generation. I think Scale Shot made it super reliable as a sweeper and essentially neutered a way to be a +2 attack Garchomp in Scarfers. However, if you disagree, I don't necessarily think you're wrong. Bulky rock sets were already super common, and being an amazing spiker at that is fantastic for the Pokemon. It still hits super hard, has great stats and great bulk, and is pretty much the same as it was last generation minus Scale Shot. Coming up next at number 9, I have the Lando T of OU currently, and that is going to be Great Tusk. Great Tusk offers a lot of versatility to a draft, and while not as good as it is in OU in the Draft League format, this Pokemon is still a gigantic threat. It offers so many different things to a team, the first of which is being the best rapid spinner in the game, and maybe the best rapid spinner we've ever seen, as well as offering a team other utility moves such as Knockoff, Taunt, and Stealth Rocks. This Pokemon also offers a very good speed tier in 87, which for a mon that has so much utility and the ability to rapid spin to gain that +1, it is an insane benefit. On top of that, we haven't even talked about the main draw to this Pokemon, its offensive typing and stats. 131 attack with ground fighting stabs can cover pretty much anything, and anything that it doesn't cover, I promise it has a coverage move for unless your name is Corviknight. The only things that it can't hit super well is going to be bulky waters, which typically don't appreciate close combat or a headlong rush. On top of this, it has sweeping capabilities with bulk up or booster energy paired with rapid spin. While Great Tusk might not be your first choice for a number 1 option on a team, this Pokemon is a fantastic blue piece that any team would love to have. The Pokemon that I have at number 8, which I should mention this beforehand, I debated heavily on the 8, 7, and 6 spots. Chi-Yu has a very strong offensive typing in Dark and Fire, and paired with its ability Beads of Ruin that lowers all opponents' special defensive stats, makes it super hard to switch into. Oftentimes you will see Chi-Yu pigeonholed into either Scarf or Specs sets, both of which it can run very well, but in Draft League specifically, it definitely has other uses. Taunt, Ruination, and Will-O-Wisp are fantastic moves that Chi-Yu get to cripple a few Pokemon that want to switch into it. You can Willow an incoming Azumarill, or taunt a bulky water that wants to recover on you as it comes in. It also has access to moves such as Nasty Plot, allowing it to set up even further than Choice Specs would allow it to. This Pokemon can be a nightmare to switch into. It is very powerful, especially paired with Terra, and I think it is very worthy of the 8th slot, if not higher. At number 7, I reluctantly have Roaring Moon. Roaring Moon is a Pokemon that I hard rallied for at the beginning of this generation, even going as far as almost picking it over Fluttermane in last PBR season. This Pokemon is awesome, but unfortunately not as awesome as I originally hoped. The main draw to this Pokemon is its elite 119 speed tier paired with the 139 base attack. It has very good stabs in both Dragon and Dark, making it very hard to switch into, but also has Iron Headless coverage for the fairies that want to switch into it. It has the ability to take advantage of booster energy, allowing its speed stat to be raised and not to allow Scarfers to revenge it. With access to Taunt, Dragon Dance, and Roost, this Pokemon can get out of hand very quickly. This Pokemon also has very good bulk and 105 HP, 71 defense, and 101 special defense. While I do think some people still underrate this Pokemon due to how awesome the top tier threats are this generation, I think Roaring Moon is just sitting outside of the top 5 Pokemon this generation. At number 6, I have a Pokemon that people either love or despise this generation. This Pokemon has been extremely polarizing from the people that I've talked to, and I gotta say, I'm a hater. Pokemon Iron Bundle. Some people have this Pokemon in top 3 this generation, which I have to respectfully disagree. My buddy Star is one of those people and he's going to hate me for this one. Iron Bundle, while I recognize is a fantastic Pokemon, good enough for even the 6th spot, is just worse in my mind than every Pokemon I have above it, even debatably worse than the last 2 slots. Again, do not get me wrong, Iron Bundle is fantastic in draft. It has an elite 136 speed tier and an insane 124 special attack with access to Hydro Pump, Ice Beam, and Freeze Dry, a very difficult combination of moves to switch into, especially when it is paired with not only potentially Terra but also Booster Energy, giving it that special attack boost to ensure that its checks cannot really switch in, or even giving it the speed boost to ensure that Scarfers cannot revenge it. On top of that, it has utility in things such as Encore and Taunt, and then Momentum with Flip Turn. Like I said, this Pokemon is fantastic, but there are definitely ways to prep around this Pokemon, especially in Draft League. If played right, in-game Iron Bundle is an insane threat that is very hard to stop. Number 5 is going to be one of the 2 Pokemon that I really have here because of the Terra ruling. Typically, Terra is banned on this Pokemon, but with the BBR rule set allowing it, this Pokemon is definitely going to be in my top 5. Palafin really loves taking advantage of Grass, Electric, or even normal Terra types. This is because without Terra, Water types can really take advantage of Palafin being bulky with Rocky Helmet to catch flip turns, or just being able to take 2 Grass Knots from Palafin. However, obviously Terra stops that and makes Palafin so much harder to switch into. With a new form of priority in Jet Punch on top of Momentum and Flip Turn and great coverage moves, Palafin is one of the greatest threats in Draft League this generation. It's super customizable too. It gets access to moves like Bulk Up and Taunt, allowing it to set up on passive waters that can only roar or haze it. Even without Terra, this Pokemon is fantastic. With Terra though, it can be pretty overwhelming. Top 4 is where we get into the elite Pokemon of this generation. 5 through 10 are great Pokemon. Obviously, they made it on the top 10 list. But these 4 Pokemon are all super close in their top 4 race up here. And if you had a different order for these 4 Pokemon, you could convince me. To lead off this list, remember our Terra rules, we are going to have Dragonite. I want to preface this with the fact that I think if it is any form of free Terra, this Pokemon is far and away the best Pokemon in Draft League. Dragonite can take advantage of so many different types, it is absurd. However, even having access to just both flying and normal still makes it an absolutely insane Pokemon. Being able to take advantage of those stab E speeds, Dragon Dance with boots and multi-scale and Generation 1 coverage. I'm not going to drag on for too long because this rant could get insanely lengthy, but Dragonite just got so much better when paired with Terra. I'm not gonna lie, these top 3 Pokemon, regardless of Terra rules, in the future might straight up be banned from draft leagues. These are very overwhelming and very difficult to prep for, and once we get a bigger pool of Pokemon, I would not be surprised if these are banned, whether it be in that DEX or in post-home Paldea decks. Coming in to lead off that list at number 3 is gonna be Iron Valiant. Iron Valiant is the first ever fairy and fighting type Pokemon, and it makes insanely good use of that typing. Being one of the best mixed attackers we have ever seen, this Pokemon has coverage to hit genuinely everything. And in a format where you can see what your opponent might use to check it, this move pool is fully taken advantage of. Iron Valiant also has setup options in not only Calm Mind and Swords Dance, but the potential speed boost of Quirk Drive always looming. On top of that, Iron Valiant is a Pokemon you can quite literally build to destroy any matchup, and honestly, if you wanted to argue this Pokemon to be higher in this list, I absolutely would not blame you. The second best Pokemon in Draft League, in my opinion, is going to be Chien-Pao. This Pokemon has an amazing offensive typing in Dark and Ice, which we all already know is crazy from Weavile, and makes it even better. It has a way to shed that awful defensive typing, tearing into just straight a dark type, making it super overwhelming and very hard to switch into. It has 135 base speed, which is one of the best speed tiers that you can get in Paldea decks. On top of that, it has a great 120 attack with the Sword of Ruin ability. Quite simply, that's just why Chien-Pao is so great. It has stabs that are nearly impossible to switch into with a great speed tier. It has access to double priority in Sucker Punch and Ice Shard, and it can just simply clean up in-game so easily once the very few Pokemon that wish to take hits from it are chipped. And number 1, just barely edging out Chien-Pao. The king is back. Dragapult is the best Pokemon in the format for the second generation in a row. This Pokemon was made better this generation actually. Not only are there so few fairies and normals in this Paldea dex that you have to attempt to use something like Dash Bun to check this Pokemon, but this thing now has physical Ghost Stab when it Terra Ghosts. One of the very few things that was lacking before. Leagues that allow Terra, such as the BPR, might have to look into potentially banning Dragapult, especially in the shallow pool of the Paldea dex. This Pokemon literally just does what it did last generation but better, and in my opinion, I think that this is the best Pokemon in the Paldea dex. You could argue Chi-Pao, you could argue Iron Valiant, you could argue Dragonite depending on the Terra rules, but I think that the King is here to stay as the best Pokemon in Paldea dex. Let me know what you guys think down below though. Obviously, like I said in the intro, everybody is going to have differing opinions. So let me know your guys' top 10 list down in the description below. Feel free to discuss amongst one another what Pokemon you guys think got snubbed, because there are definitely some good Pokemon that got snubbed from this list, especially when you consider the Terra rules. But let me know what you guys think of all of that down below. Let me know what you think of my list, and make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed. We are almost at 900 subscribers at the time of my recording this. My end year goal was 1,000. If we can hit that soon, that would be surreal to me, because I've been making videos for like 7 years, so that's always been my goal. So if you guys can help with that, that would be fantastic. But thank you guys so much for watching, and for now guys, this has been John Jr. signing off.